What's up, guys? We are here to do the last one of the Hermetic principles from the Kybalion. I have really enjoyed doing this with you guys. So the last 7th principle of the Hermetic principles is the principle of gender. And it starts with the quote from the Kybalion: gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only on the physical plane, but on the mental and even spiritual planes. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. And understanding its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains 2 elements or principles, or this great principle within him or her. Every male thing has the female element also. Every female contains also the male principle. If you would understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study this Hermetic principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious, and degrading lustful theories, teachings, and practices which are taught under fanciful titles and which are a prostitution of the great natural principle of gender. Such base rivals of the ancient infamous forms of phallicism tend to ruin mind, body, and soul. And the Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degrading teachings which tend towards lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature's principles. If you seek such teachings, you must go elsewhere for them. Hermetism contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base. First of all, welcome to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So, this is a great example of what I talk about when I talk about how physically we are embodied, but mentally, spiritually, we have masculine and feminine in us in different balances, in different weights. That is our balance, which is why I express so deeply, not from any ideological standpoint, but because of what I have truly, intuitively, and innately learned, living life unencumbered as best I can by other people's dogmas. That from what I've seen, from what I've witnessed, having had the opportunity to travel the world and experience many different people, places, and things, that when we can learn to love ourselves as a whole, not forsaking part of ourselves to love another, not hating or disliking part of ourselves to love another, but loving ourselves for the combination of what we are, whatever that may be, that is when you are most confident and at peace in your soul. And being able to understand that this principle of femininity and masculinity, as we can see in nature, where flowers, plants, have both the masculine and feminine aspect required for procreation, proliferation, really. And we don't love those plants any less. There are also plants that become just masculine or feminine in that sense, just the male or the female aspect, and need the other aspect, are not combined. We don't love those plants any more or less. We understand them. Inherently, we accept that they are naturally as they are. We can come to accept that we are naturally as we are, and that we do not require any sort of massive transformation other than learning to embody the love that we can for ourselves and others, seeing the divine in all things, seeing the divine in ourselves, seeing the divine in others, and embracing it as such. When we can work towards the goodness. And when I say goodness, I don't mean the subjective rights and wrongs, but inherently what feels good. And we know. When we can do that, for ourselves, that naturally pours out onto others, into the world. So I want to encourage everybody today to ask yourselves, why do I accept some things and not others? Why do I look at some things as right or okay or good, and other things as wrong, bad, not okay? When do I apply those standards to some things and not others? Do I apply those standards to others and not myself? When do I apply those standards to myself but not others? And where do these standards even come from? Because we can see from the world around us what the universal law actually is. And when we take the time to pursue that feeling of stability and love, true love, which has that foundation of comfort and stability, not just being used to something. I need to come up with a better word for that, because I don't like to say comfortable in uncomfortable positions, because we can get used to uncomfortable positions, but we still know somewhere in there, even though that's what we're used to, that's what we've habituated to, that is what has become our habit. We know there's more, there's better, or at a minimum, we know that this is uncomfortable for us on some innate level. So how can we pursue? How can we better pursue for ourselves what we know makes us feel best? Because when we feel our best, when we are thriving in our best, that is when we do our best for others. So we don't have to compromise what is best for us and what is best for others. When we thrive, others thrive. When we can take the time to adjust our perspective towards living actually fulfilled, not gluttonously so, not over-fulfilled, because when we are over-fulfilled, we feel that pain as well. So we know when we've gotten right up to that limit, but not stretched beyond it. When we can live from that loving place for ourselves first, it will naturally spill over for others. So we don't even have to worry about that. And then we live our lives here on earth, fulfilled, satisfied, happy, in that energy of love and abundance that is our divine birthright, if we so choose to accept it. Because we have free will. We can choose to reject it. That's another part of being human. But when you start to recognize the divine law in all things, I still really want to do the video on the holographic principle. All of us, as I say, a part of the universe looking back at itself. All of us, that information, that is the same information as everything else, metaphorically speaking, but as well physically speaking. We are all one. And the more we can all embody our own bodies, lovingly, recognize others as just as worthy and divine as we are, while not forsaking ourselves to do so. What a better place that would be. And it only has to start with you. When we start with ourselves, when we better ourselves, we better the world, because we are part of it. So that's where I want to leave you today, with that thought, with the encouragement to just ask yourself, how can I do better for me? How can I feel better for me? That's it. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description. That includes working with me one-on-one. That includes my Patreon, dōTERRA, all that good stuff, my email list, dōTERRA Witches. We had an amazing dōTERRA Witches new moon gathering tonight, which reminds me I will be doing my free new moon card pull and energy update here for Patreon. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, definitely go over and do so, because at a minimum, I have some cool free stuff going on over there, as well as the paid membership tiers with all of the self-study, guided meditations, journal exercises, my intuitive lifestyle course, workshop replays, teachings, so much good stuff. And yeah, may the energies you serve you well, and let's keep making our way through.